Mike, what is going on with my head coach at this point in time?
Well, look, there's been a belief all along that Don Yee, who he hired a few weeks back, and that was the biggest signal he was going to explore NFL opportunities when he hired Yee, that Yee was going to work this and get the best possible financial offer for Jim Harbaugh, and then he'll make his decision. And if money is his top factor, it might not be the NFL. It might be Michigan, where he's got a huge offer on the table. We talked last time about the possibility of the NCAA issuing what they call a show cause order that would essentially force Michigan to fire him at some point in time. But the financial side of it and the commitments he could get in writing to get his money, that may be where he lands if it comes down to raw dollars. The Chargers are in a weird spot here because they're very sensitive about the perception that they're not willing to pay. And that gives Harbaugh a great opportunity to put his thumb on the scale and try to get even more, because you don't want to reinforce the notion that the Chargers are cheap. That said, something kept this from happening while he was in the building. As you said, you don't let the guy get out of the building. You don't let him move on to other options, especially when Michigan's got a huge offer on the table and the Falcons want to bring him in for a second interview that hasn't happened yet. You take a calculated risk when you let him out of the building. And the last time around, Rich, when they hired Brandon Staley, one of the reasons they moved as fast as they did, they believed if Staley left the building, the Eagles would have hired him to be the head coach. So they know what it means to let a guy walk away.
Yeah. I mean, not just any building. They let him go back into his office where, there's that football. There's that, Michigan hat. There's that memory. I mean, they let him go back into his comfort spot. Okay. I mean, and again, I'll repeat to you, I'm sure you hear the same phrase all the time whenever you speak to a source about Jim Harbaugh. It always ends with Jim, you never know. So I don't know how you can't read into anything. It appears here, but also coaching, hiring, and conversations. If you've got the guy and you've interviewed the people you wanted to interview, and you've interviewed the people that satisfy the league's interviewing rules and the Rooney Rule as well, then you hire the guy. Then it's over. Then it's done. Then you hit the mark. And apparently, for whatever reason, they didn't yesterday.
That's right. Hey, look, this is the same guy who went to Minnesota 2 years ago and interviewed for the Vikings job and thought he was getting it until he didn't, and said at the time he was done pursuing NFL opportunities, and yet continues to do so. I'm with you. We don't know what the guy's going to do until he does it, and we don't know what he asked for from the Chargers. But if they were ready to hire him and they haven't, that means that there was an impasse somewhere, whether it was money, whether it was power, whether it was who the GM is going to be, whether he just got enough of a whiff of the organization to be scared off. I'm not saying he should be. I'm not saying he could be, but that's possible as well. Even though the Chargers have some great players, there's been something up with that team in recent years where they just can't compete at a high level. And a guy who's been a high-level competitor as a head coach for years now, it may be an indefinable thing that he just kind of sensed that this just isn't right for me. There's something wrong about this place. There's something wrong about the ownership group. There's something wrong generally. I just shouldn't do it. So the fact that he's gone and the fact that they move forward, searching for a GM, presumably interviewing other candidates, unless it just happens like that, all it takes is if he's made what he wants known and all they have to do is pick up the phone and call Don Yee and say, okay, fine, we'll give him what he wants. But, yeah, it's a calculated risk to let him walk away.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.